Did she do it? Did she really do it and cut off her hair? Don't be afraid. I did not get rid of all my hair, but a big piece of it, if you like to say. We cut off about 24 centimeters. For more details, stay tuned. By saying we, I mean my dear friend Heike and me, because she did all the work. We are going to show you what steps we follow to achieve my new length. If you're already following my blog or my YouTube, you will probably already know Heike and her blog Haselnussblond. If not, go and check her out, but of course after you've watched this video. We also already did 2 videos together. In one of them she's showing you how you can cut your own hair. For this haircut we're using Heike scissors, I will link them down below, and a regular comb. The clips are perfect for separating single parts of the hair, but they are optional. If you want to know how much you cut, you need something to measure your hair. This is why measuring is the first thing we do. We start at my forehead, to be exact at my hairline, and measure down all the way to my tips to make the values comparable. Before the cut, I had 142 centimeters. So let's go on. As you can see, we start off by separating about 1/3 of my hair. As my hair is rather thick, Heike decided to cut it in several layers to be able to cut more precisely. As a preparation, Heike is brushing my hair and spraying water on it to make it wet and avoid flyaways by this. It's very important to have tangle-free hair before you start to cut it, and spraying it with water makes it a lot easier to handle the hair. I was planning to cut my hair back to about mid-thigh length. Because this is a rather big cut, Heike made a tiny ponytail and did the first big step. Phew! I was kind of excited when we did this, but I can promise you it did not hurt. You can see, even though this is only about 1/3 of my hair, she has a lot of effort cutting it through. This is why we decided for the layers. Of course you can go to a hairstylist for this, but I like to have a friend who I can trust. And if you're doing this for the first time, you could use the extra length to practice. So first cut 5 centimeters and then another 5 centimeters, just to get a feeling for it and to practice giving the hair a nice shape. This is what Heike is doing next. She's starting to give my hemline the shape I wanted. Of course, a straight line is the best if you're aiming for a thick brush-like braid end, for example. But I prefer a U-shaped, so this is what I wished. I wanted to have a slightly deeper U-shape than the last time we trimmed. As she continues, you can see it looks a bit more like a V-shape, with straight sides and something like a tip in the middle. If you want a U-shape, it should look more like a parabol. Put a lot of effort in this first step, because the shape you create now will be the pattern for the next layers you are going to cut. I'm skipping some parts here because, as I said, it takes time and you cannot see that much in this step, but we're going to take a closer look next. Don't forget to plump up your hair in between, because there can always be some lost and misguided strands of hair hiding somewhere on your back. Also remember to compare the left and right side to make sure they are even. As we have to go on, I let down the next part of my hair. While working on this part of my hair, Heike realized that this was even too much hair to cut at once, so aim for layers that are thin enough so you can see through the line you created in the step before. In between all those steps, Heike is always brushing my hair a lot to make sure it's tangle-free, and she sprays it with water to make it wet and to avoid flyaways, which makes it easier to cut the hair. As you can see, she's cutting the second layer following the shape of the first one, so from here on it's going a little bit faster. Maybe you did already notice that I was not so happy with the result in the end, because it's more like a V-shape. And because I already did cut several long-haired friends' hair, I have some personal advice for you. Always give yourself 1 or 2 centimeters as a buffer. If you have to do any corrections on the shape, it will get shorter anyway. If you're aiming at a new shape, start at the outer corners of your hair, going upwards and working slowly towards the middle. For a flat U shape, the middle part of your hair should be almost straight.
The further you're going outwards, the higher the angle of your scissors should be. If you have waves in your tips, like here with my hair, it gets even harder to cut it in a good straight line. So make it as straight as possible, or spray it with even more water if you have problems. As you can see, the third part is rather thin, because it only consists of the top layer of hair. And this hair on top experiences far more wear and friction compared to the hair below. But indeed, for this step it's perfect, because you can just follow the line you created before, as I already said. One more tip. If you're cutting in several layers, like we're doing here, make sure to give yourself some extra buffer, because it can always happen when you're cutting the top layer that you shorten the layer below you already worked on. All that's left now are minor corrections to make the shape really perfect. I will link all the other videos I have about cutting your own hair or cutting the hair of others in the description box below. As we're coming to the end, Heike is cutting vertically into my hemline to make it thinner. This way it falls much better and softer. Take this step into account before you start the haircut, because it can take a few extra millimeters of the overall length. As I already said, I started off with 142 centimeters, and we cut off 24 of them. So my new hair length is 180 centimeters, measured from my hairline at my forehead. And I know a lot of you still think this is too long, but if you don't want to, you don't have to wear it this long, so please spare on comments on that. Next, I want to show you the result. How my hair falls now, how my hemline looks, how my braid looks now, because it's much shorter. But before I do so, you have to know one thing. I did some minor corrections on my own afterwards to make the shape flatter, because this kind of deep U or V shape was not good to wear in a braid. The end of the braid was so long and I didn't like it. But I love how thick my ends are now. And I love my new length, even so it could be a few centimeters longer, but that's okay. And I love how much thicker my braid looks just because it's shorter. I started growing my hair because I wanted to know how knee-long hair feels. Now I know it, and I'm back to mid-thigh length because this is easier to handle, but let's be honest, still super long. From here on, I will let it grow a bit, because I prefer it a little bit longer and I want the U-shape a little bit flatter. But in between, I will just continue doing crazy braids and enjoy taking care of my hair. If you want to follow my journey, be sure to check out my blog, which is German and English, and I will also continue doing German and English videos over here. I would love to see you next time. Bye! But wait, if you made it until here, I have a little outtake for you, because we always have so much fun doing the videos. Now you're allowed to go. No, just kidding. But maybe you want to stay a little bit longer for one more hair care or hairstyle video? Anyway, have a wonderful day.